Ladies and gentlemen, it is about that time again. It is time to tag in with your favorite podcast duo. It's Shake, it's Teddy. This is the Hot Tag Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can find us on YouTube. Just search up the Hot Tag Podcast. You can find us on Twitch if you're watching the VOD back. All my socials at ESG Shake. Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. And there's so much we got to get into today. We got the bloodline. The rift is only growing inside the bloodline. There's some things that happened this week. Seth Rollins was officially coronated as the new World Heavyweight Championship, and I was there, and I get to talk about it. And also, we're going to talk about why people are pissed off at The Undertaker. Weird take, I know, but we're going to get into that. There's so much to get into today, but before we get to any of it, Teddy, my man, my partner, how we doing?
I'm ready. I'm feeling it. It's a Sunday. My stress levels are lowered. I'm loving wrestling right now. SmackDown, I got a text message from Zach on Friday going, hey, for the first time, I'm actually really looking forward to SmackDown. And I was like, me too. So I'm happy with where wrestling is right now. Quite naturally, I've fallen off a little bit and haven't been watching as much, but that usually happens right after WrestleMania. I take a little break. I'm not as invested into it as I was, but I'm still watching. But which is all the more why I say we should take a break right after WrestleMania. That's for another time. We already talked.
A little off
Yeah,
season would be nice, but yeah.
I think it would be just like every other sport. It would make us that much more eager to see it come back.
Yeah.
But go ahead. So let's start us off, Shake. Where are we at?
Listen, let's start chronologically and work our way up to how things progress this week. Monday night, we're coming out of Night of Champions. Absolute banger of a show, by the way. I thought it overperformed. I really enjoyed some of those matches a lot. I guess we didn't really talk about Night of Champions.
Did we not? I thought no. Yeah, we did. That was our whole last show. Night of Champions.
What? But that was like the predictions of it.
No, that was afterward.
Was it? Was that 2 weeks later? That's mad weird.
We did Garrett. Yeah, last week was an episode with Garrett.
Right.
We talked about what had happened.
Because it was the night of. That's why.
Yes.
That's why I got confused. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, back on track. 2 days later, Seth Rollins came to Albany, New York. He was officially coronated as the World Heavyweight Championship. And my God, what a hero's welcome. What a celebration. And I think it was clear in that moment that it just hammered home the point that right now, in this moment, Seth Rollins is probably the second most over person in the company right now. It is absolutely unbelievable. People love this guy as champion. It's a guy we love to love. And the match against AJ Styles, I honestly thought was good for both of them. I know we talked about it. I won't dive into it. But speaking of that guy, AJ showed up on Monday. Me, very confused. Didn't know why. Thought he was going to say, give me a rematch. You got lucky. No, they had a nice little respectful handshake. Then they had a tag match later that night against the Judgment Day. Thought that was pretty cool. Jeez. Talk about being over. The Judgment Day. Oh, how much heat do those guys have right now? And I always thought at shows when Dominic started talking, they were pumping in boos. I was there Monday and I took a video of it because I needed it recorded. He has legitimate heat. Every person was yelling the minute he started talking. It was insane.
I could have told you that.
But there's sometimes, like, I don't know now. Because they pipe in crowd noise. And so sometimes you don't know.
Well, it's... I had texted Zach while he was at... while he was there on Monday. And I said, hey, are they pumping in crowd noise for Seth? Just to see? Because it was quite loud. Like you said, it was quite loud. And I was like, and they were singing his song without the, because I know at Mania, they had to pump it in for the entrance because,
Yeah. Well, that was a little different. People didn't know what to do. Yeah.
It was no fault of Seth. It was just more of it was a hard to really get us harmonized together. Like we couldn't get in sync singing it.
Yeah.
And so then it was just like weird. And then people were just like, I'm just gonna wait for the music to hit. So that's why they pumped it in. But I wanted to know if they were pumping. He goes, no, man, it's as loud as hell in here. I'm like, awesome, awesome. No, but yeah, Dominic is Dominic. His boos. You can. There's no way. They booed so loud for him at Elimination Chamber that it drowned out the match.
Yeah.
Like that mixed tag match, like it just drowned out that match. And so, yeah, no, he's got real heat right now, and it's awesome. And it's funny. I actually seen a little tweet. Well, I didn't see a tweet. It was just a verbiage going around. People saying, "Man, what if Dominic won the Money in the Bank?" And I said, "Talk about heat. That kid. I mean, it would be even worse because it's at the point where we like it's he's got a weird heat. We love to boo him, but we also just don't like him too. But it's not like we don't like him. We think he's doing great right now.
Yeah.
But it's a weird thing. You know how they say people say they love to hate. They love to hate MJF, but they cheer for him because they love to hate him.
Yeah.
Dominic, we love to hate him, but we boo him. And so it's weird. But
there's a legitimate hatred there.
Yeah, but if he wins the Money in the Bank, I don't know if anyone. He might get some of the biggest heat in WWE history if he wins the Money in the Bank. It just.
Could you imagine him being successful in the cash-in? People would lose their ever-loving minds. There would be meltdowns absolutely everywhere.
Well, you're gonna get a meltdown anyway because what I've heard around town, LA Knight's gonna win, and he's gonna cash it in on Seth Rollins.
I'm okay with that if he waits. I don't want it soon. I want Seth to have a legitimate reign because we talked about establishing this title. That needs to happen before a Money in the Bank cash in. Because otherwise, I think you further the argument of it being the B title. Which, like, let's call it what it is because it's brand new and there is no lineage because of what they're choosing to do. It is the B title.
It is the B title. And then you and I, we do disagree on this too. It's the B title. And you said it earlier, but I still don't believe Seth is the number 2 guy in the company. I just don't. I think.
Okay.
To me, I was just talking on the phone with Zach yesterday, and I said, honestly, I think he would have been better off putting that belt on Edge because Edge didn't. The only reason he lost to Roman was through interference, and he only lost once. The other time was a disqualification on Seth Rollins. Edge has successfully beaten Seth Rollins twice. He also hasn't lost to Cody. He hasn't lost to Brock. So it's just like it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, he hasn't beaten Brock, but he also hasn't lost him. So we can't by default say that Brock's better than him or anything like that. Or he also hasn't lost to Cody, so we can't say by default that Cody's better. So he could actually be like the best guy in the company right now. I also do think, to me, you made your comment, and like I said, I just think different. If Seth was the number 2 guy in the company, there would be they wouldn't be calling. They wouldn't have called Night of Champions a three main eventer. If Cody and Brock were more popular right now, then there would be no reason to call that a main event. You would have just a two-part main event.
I think
there's no title along. There's no title in the mix at all.
They were right in the middle of the show, and we always say the second best spot to be is starting the show.
Well, also, I heard the only reason that the only reason I heard that match started the show. We have said that, but it's people have argued that it's not even the case anymore. It depends. It's weird. But Seth needed to get back overseas because he had to film. So they said they started and he left right after.
Yeah, I'm sure. But...
Yeah. So, but to me, like I said, he can prove it. Like I texted Zach when he was at the show and I said, Seth is doing it for me right now. He's doing it for me. And then Zach was like,
I didn't hear what you said. What'd he say?
I said, I texted Zach and I said, he's doing it for me right now. And Zach goes, that's all it takes? It's an entrance? And I was like, well, he's just him coming through the crowd.
That was unbelievable.
He's still got a ways to go for me, though. And I think.
That is now my phone background, by the way.
So, he needs to beat someone big. Like at SummerSlam, and that's just the thing. Like, who's he gonna beat big? Like at SummerSlam, we already know it's gonna be Cody and Brock.
Yeah.
Like those two are going. He needs to beat Brock. He needs to beat a Brock, or he needs to beat an Edge. But Edge is on SmackDown, so like there is no one that is credible for him to beat. For him to be like,
one guy,
this is the go. Who?
Drew McIntyre.
Even then, like
You
Drew,
can't tell me him beating Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam in a banger of a match, a grueler of a match that would not launch him in that title.
It depends on what time, how like the manner in which Drew McIntyre comes back in.
It would have to be a heel.
Right away, but I mean, remember Drew's coming off a loss. Sheamus didn't get pinned. He got pinned.
Yeah. Well, that's why he would go to the heel turn. And I think Drew McIntyre coming back as a heel and running after the world title, you want to talk about Dynamite TV, it would be what it was when he was chasing Randy all over again.
I would love that, but I'll tell you what, that's another thing. I don't think it's a wise idea because you finally gave Drew McIntyre the time off. He needed to go away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And to come back and make us love him again, especially as a heel. You don't have him come back and lose to Seth Rollins.
I don't. Yeah. I think he needs to, though.
We can go a long way with this guy, with a heel Drew McIntyre, which the way he, because his first heel run, he wasn't like a dominant person. He's now made it clear that he can be a dominant person.
Yeah.
So now if you make him a heel dominant, I mean, you build him up. That's a credible. Like, I'll tell you what. Drew McIntyre walk into a WrestleMania with that World Heavyweight title and defend it as a heel and have some babyface beat him is what I would do.
I think I'd rather have Gunther walk into Mania as World Heavyweight Champion. Or Dude! Oh my God!
I want to see Gunther and Drew for the World title at WrestleMania. That's what I want to see.
Okay, so here's a scenario, right? Again, we're saying fuck LA Knight in this situation. Because...
LA Knight's 39, 40 years old, I think. He's like 39, 48. He's like 39, 40. He is going to ride it out. He's not going to be like, he's going to be very lucky to win that world title. If he does, and he should take that.
I think he needs one.
Yeah, I think he needs one. We love LA Knight, and you can have him just, like, you can put him in a Drew McIntyre spot or even a Seth Rollins spot where it's just that top mid-card guy. I know Seth is the world champion now, but before, the last 2 years, 3 years, what has he been?
Mm-hmm.
Put him in that spot and ride it out, and he would reach uncanny levels of popularity, and we would love it.
Well, that's what I think. If he wins that, we're derailing ourselves again, but if he wins that briefcase and gets to walk around with it for almost a year and let that build, that's why I think if LA Knight wins, he's going to hold on to it for a while, because that is going to legitimately establish him as somebody we care about all the time. And even if he doesn't cash in, just comes out and sits ringside at a championship match, how fucking cool would that be? He's just chilling with his feet up on the desk, talking to Graves. Fucking, that'd be cool.
And so I wouldn't be mad at a long title run by LA Knight, honestly. He looks good. He looks good. LA Knight is just, he's electrifying. People love him right now. People absolutely love him. I mean, when have you seen Montez Ford get booed in a match?
No, I know. That was the thing that I was happy LA Knight won that match for the sake of the Street Profits. Because if Montez Ford wins that match, it's basically saying fuck Angelo Dawkins.
I think this is the best opportunity because there's rumors have it that the Street Profits and Bianca Belair are going to make a heel turn, and I think they should.
I think they should turn into what Hit Row should have been. Get Hit Row the fuck out. They are awful, man.
They are.
And you know what's crazy? The first time they were around, I liked them a lot. Now they are dog shit.
Strickland. Who's carrying them?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And like Top Dollar lost weight and just got worse. Most people lose weight and move better. He looks like he moves worse.
He looks like a baby giraffe in the fucking ring, dude.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah, I think it would be, if Bianca wins her belt back as a heel and then the Street Profits win the tag titles, they could run rampant.
Yeah.
Rampant. And then, oh, look at this. Look at this. This is what we do. and we ride this shit out to WrestleMania. We split up the titles. We have on Raw side, we have the Judgment Day holding those titles. On SmackDown, the Street Profits and Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
These two factions collide right before WrestleMania. We get Mommy versus Bianca, and we get the Judgment Day versus the Street Profits.
Versus. Well, see, I feel like Rhea versus Bianca is going to be WrestleMania.
That's what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about SummerSlam. Yeah.
Oh, no, I said we ride this out to. I said, well, they couldn't. There's no way they could split the titles and win them by then. I said we have the Street Profits win the SmackDown titles. Bianca win back the title eventually, and then on the Judgment Day side, they win the titles on Raw, and then we have these two factions collide right before WrestleMania.
So
and have that Bianca and. Which is it's actually not possible with the brand split, but you never know.
Well, that's the thing, is the brand split is weird. But again, what the fuck does the brand split mean when the Raw Women's Champion is on SmackDown? Like, really, what does it mean?
What are we doing with that? What are we doing? You're right. Well, all right, so we moved off.
What?
Where are we at right now and where we want to be on the show right now? Because we can just keep talking, but let's try to get a little bit centered back to where we're going. We can talk about that.
We were talking about Seth Rollins as World Heavyweight Champion and how that road looks.
I know you texted me and said you want to talk about him and Damian Priest having a match.
Yeah, so that was cool, right? Seth Rollins tweeted out that he wanted an open challenge, and then Priest went on social media, put out a video saying, "It's closed. I accept. I'll see you on Monday." And I think that's really good for Damian Priest. And I think it's also, it's weird to say because he's not going to beat Seth Rollins and then losing to Bunny and then Seth Rollins. But it's good for him to be in that world title picture. And I think it's going to be a good match. And I think people will legitimately believe that he has a shot at winning, even though story-wise it doesn't make any sense.
I think it's the first time he's been in. He's challenged for a world title.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. Good for him. Good for him. You know, that's good for him. Hopefully he can put on a really good. Let's not forget this dude pinned Drew McIntyre in a triple threat against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus when he was the United States champion.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He was really good as the United States champion, and I think the issue was he ran into the wall of Bobby Lashley, who then they decided to fucking bury.
Where is Bobby Lashley?
Where is Bobby Lashley?
I think he got hurt in that match. I do think he got hurt that week because we haven't seen him since.
Oops.
But yeah, so good for him. I think that's a solid. And I guess we can move on. What else happened on Raw? Ricochet qualified for the Money in the Bank.
And Shinsuke, which was surprising. Yeah. I thought it was going to be Bronson Reed.
That was strange.
I thought it was strange too.
He beat him clean too, didn't he?
Yeah. Kinshasa, it was over.
That's bad. That's bad for Bronson.
I mean, he got hit with a couple, but yeah, it was. Bronson looked good, but at this point, Shinsuke beating him.
What are we doing with him?
Yeah, right, exactly.
What are we doing with Bronson? Like, he could have stayed over in New Japan. He was like world champ over there.
Oops. It's just, that's the thing. Like, some of these New Japan guys just don't have the same effect over here. New Japan, I don't know if you've ever watched it, but I see stuff here and there. Their style and their product is very, very different from what we have over here.
It seems like their style is more into what I do, what I would like.
It's more actual wrestling.
More actual wrestling. It's very stiff over there from what I've heard.
It's a lot more spotty.
Is it?
In a sense, yeah. I feel like I see a lot of. I hate saying it, but a lot of flippy stuff.
I've heard that from some people.
I think it depends on the wrestler, but
I think some of the Americans that go over there do that, but from a general consensus, I've heard that it's quite with Shinsuke. Like, we don't see Shinsuke doing any guys anything. He's a big guy. It's just like stiff, hard hits is what I've heard. And like, even when you hear people talk about Rick, those guys beat the hell out of you. It's like
that's the thing. But has Shinsuke really gotten like a massive push over here? Right.
Shinsuke can't talk, can't hold him. But I mean, look at Asuka. How old is Asuka? Hey Google.
40. I looked this up. Late 40s.
You're so stupid. No. Anyway, but yeah, she's like, no one expected her to win another title at this point in her career.
I thought it was weird because we talked about if this match was going to happen, Asuka better have won, and she did. And now we're headed into like an Io Sky thing, which is good because
That was pretty dope again. They
I'm
leaned into it.
I'm excited for that, and I think it's good for Bianca to have a little time away too.
Well, she's not away though. That's the thing. Did you not watch SmackDown?
I didn't see the whole thing.
So they had Io Sky came out, and so they're not having a match. Io Sky is in the Money in the Bank match.
Oh,
So they were just talking, and so it's like, oh, everybody was like, oh, they're doing it again, and then, which I also thought they were gonna feud, but it was for the Money in the Bank. She said she's gonna win the Money in the Bank. I mean, then after that, a bunch of women came out in the ring, were talking, and then like, what's her name? Zelina Vega mentioned how like Rhea Ripley respects her now, and she was this close to beating Rhea. And I was like, at what point in that match were you this close to beating Rhea Ripley? And then as Asuka snuck out of the ring and just like, oh, you guys can keep talking trash, I'm leaving, I don't care. Bianca appeared behind her, and they just started brawling. Because I also was like, all right, Bianca's taking some time off. Good. She can come back in the heel. But no, Bianca appeared behind her, and then they brawled. So I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, Asuka, yeah, I mean, and even here's the weirdest thing. Asuka almost is becoming a babyface, which makes me believe that Bianca is going to become a heel, because Asuka wasn't a heel on Raw. Like, was not a heel on SmackDown.
she tried to, but like the problem is nobody hates Asuka. Like even when they were doing that to Bianca, it's like, oh, it's Asuka. Like everybody loves Asuka. It's different than Bianca, obviously, but
it's funny. There's someone put out a meme of Batista. It was like Io Sky and Asuka talking, and it was Batista. Give me what I want.
no, seriously, like I would be. That's why I said what I said. I wish Bianca would go away for a little while, like you do, and I think an Io Sky Asuka feud would be banging. So what if they talk in Japanese all the time? Because there's part of Damage Control. You have either Bailey or Dakota being like, what she said was, because like they don't actually know
what happened. Bailey came out and was like, what Io was said was.
Yeah, because like they don't actually translate for her, guys. Don't know if you know that. It's scripted, so she knows what she's saying. But it's interesting. I think Asuka versus Io Sky would have been banging, but I mean, like you said, she's in Money in the Bank, so like whatever.
I think we'll get it at SummerSlam. Asuka and Io Sky. No, because Bianca clearly hasn't gone anywhere.
Right.
So we'll have to get that. I don't know. But the most important thing is, guys, why do we still have the Raw Women's Champion on SmackDown? And then, like, geez Louise, like, just call it what it is. And you could have easily renamed that title now that it's on Asuka. You could just like, all right, hey, let's rename it. Rename it, and we'll just, like, we could we'll keep that one over there and do whatever until she drops it, because you don't want to convolute the reign. Well, let's roll right into it. You got anything else you want to say?
No.
Let's roll into championships. I mean, all right. We got the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world, and it's saying that. Who was it? You said that to me, right? They unveiled, slap some gold in there in the middle of there. That's what you got.
And you make the gems black instead of white, and it's the same thing. Dude, I saw a tweet. It was like not WWE unveiling the same physical design for the last 10 years. No, you said that to me. Oh my god.
I was like, yeah, they are. That's exactly what they did.
It started with the Rock title in 2013, okay? Then they got this one. Then the Red Universal and the Blue Universal were the same exact fucking design.
And then the Women's Championship is the same design.
It's like, it's so bad. And then you look at this other tweet I saw from back in the day. Maybe it was like 2013. It was CM Punk, Zack Ryder, Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston, all those titles. It was the spinner belt, big gold, the first iteration of the tag belts we have now that were the black and like bronze whatever belt tag belts, the Divas Championship, the United States Championship, and the white strap Intercontinental belt. They all looked different. And that's what you need. Because otherwise, it's like, who's who? What's what? I don't really fucking know. And look, I'll be honest. Does Roman make this new gold undisputed title look good? Yeah. But I worry about it looking good on anybody else.
Yeah.
If the whole thing was gold, like Snoop's title was, I think that would be arguably better. But it just looks so bad to me. It looks like they put gold aluminum foil under this fucking thing. I tweeted that on Sportskeeta's tweet about what do you think about it. And I was like, yeah, no, not good. Very ugly. Looks cheap.
Yeah. I remember stating that Snoop's title looked better than the current his titles. I'm like, man, that looks good. Every title, and the sad part is every iteration of that title, like both women's championships look better than the world championship.
It's ridiculous.
The UK championship, that old UK one they had, well, man, that was beautiful.
I love that.
Beautiful belt. And it has the same kind of design, but it's just a beautiful belt. And it's just like they want their logo smack dab in the middle right there.
That's fine, but you can be more creative than that.
You really can. I mean, look at the UFC belts. I mean, they're all the same. Well, they're all the same.
They're literally all the same.
But they do look. It still looks. I think it looks better because it looks like an actual belt. Like I think that belt looks better than the WWE Championship belt. But I mean, I don't know. I'm glad Roman's not carrying one too. But here's the thing, now, guys. You go on the WWE.com. It's still listed as there's two belts on it. So it has a picture of him with the two belts, and it's still listed as two belts underneath there. And when you click under it, it'll just show the Universal and WWE title. So like we have no like description of this lineage, and we don't know. So it's like, all right, well, he's the undisputed champion, and there's still the two belts. We just decided to consolidate it to one belt. They call it the undisputed title because it's two belts into one. But what about Seth? Can't be undisputed if there's a photo.
You say that, but you remember the early 2000s, it was the same exact fucking thing. After Jericho, they had the undisputed title and Big Gold got brought in after that. And they did that for quite a few years.
They did do it. I thought about that. But eventually people realized like it was just the WWE Championship. I think they kept the name for a little bit. That was the original name before they brought back Big Gold. It was the Undisputed Championship.
What I was
I think when JBL held that belt, I believe it was understood.
Yes.
As the WWE Championship.
And I think it took till JBL.
I think when Brock had it though, it was the WWE Championship too.
I thought it was still undisputed. I don't really remember, but the first person I remember it being called the WWE Championship was JBL. But until that point, or even Brock Lesnar, it was still the undisputed title, and it made no sense. So the only thing I think that could save this situation is if this is Roman's belt to celebrate what he did. So when he loses, there's another new championship. I hope. Because what if that's the case? Roman carries this to Mania, Cody finally beats him and says, I'm getting rid of this title because it symbolizes the reign of terror, the tribal chief, all that shit. And here's the new WWE Championship. That would be my hope. But you know what they do with my hopes in WWE? Right here, buddy.
They really do.
While you're looking that up, you want to refresh this?
Yes.
All right, we're back now. So, yeah, Undisputed Championship. Weird time in WWE history. I get modernizing the championships, but very strange. And the landscape of it is weird because there's a lot of different ways you could go. It's just, with that being said, why don't we just roll right into this bloodline thing? Because
wild.
It is getting messy in the House of Roman. It got to a point. I did watch the highlights for this segment. Roman hugs Jimmy. They have an embrace. Oh, before that happens, Solo says to Roman, I acknowledge you as my tribal chief, but those are my brothers. Goes to the other side, joins his brothers. And looking in hindsight, it might have seemed like that was part of the plan the whole time. Roman act upset, then he hugs Jimmy, pretends to forgive him like he did with Jay in the beginning of this whole thing. Next thing you know, there's a thumb in Jimmy's throat. The fuck? So Solo is still not with his brothers, is still siding with the tribal chief, but it now seems like the relationship between the Usos and Roman and Solo is irreparable. They have come to blows numerous times, and there's been so many backstabbings and this denial of trust where, oh, you can trust me, then bang, as a point to get over one another and get the upper hand on one another is very manipulative, very dangerous, very ugly, but great TV.
Roman Reigns is a bad man. That is a bad man. He is a bad dude. Let me tell you something. I knew from the beginning when Solo said that Solo's going to turn on him. Solo's going to turn on him. And it was just like he's going to kick his brothers. Roman's a bad dude. And he was just like, no. And then here's Roman is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I've seen a post a while ago that said Roman's best mic work is when he's off camera. Like when he's not directly in front of the camera. Like one of the things he said that just puts his character over the line is like as he's leaving Friday Night SmackDown, right before the cameras go off, they're walking up and then you hear cameras are just following him and you hear Paul go, "What about Jay, my tribal chief?"
Yeah.
And Roman goes, "Oh, Jay will do what he always does." All in line. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, and the best part about that was like, it wasn't like cameras were supposed to be on them. It was just like, it was almost, it was the most real thing that happened in WWE that made you feel like this isn't a scripted television show. Like, this is something that would really happen. Like, we're following them. And just like the savagery that he just said right there. Like, he just straight savagery. Tell me your jaw didn't drop when Jimmy mushed Roman in the face.
Dude. Every time Jimmy does something, I'm like, you dumb bastard. I'm like, yo, this whole thing started by Roman baiting you with Jay, and then you getting choked the fuck out just so Roman could win the match and Jay would say, I quit. That's how this whole thing started, and you thought that was gonna go well?
Well, it's nice to see Jimmy stepping it up and like trying to not just be Jay's brother.
That's fair, but still, he's still Jay's brother, and everybody's like, "Oh, Jimmy did that. Now what's Jay gonna do?" That's what everybody's thinking.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what
because the story this entire time has been Jay and Roman. Now it's like Jay wants to be with Roman, but he's beating the shit out of his brother. The only dude that's had his back his entire life. He is so torn right now.
And he had to know that the baby brother was going to stick with Roman. Like, I feel like a lot of baby brothers would be like,
fuck you guys.
Yeah, sick of you two. Always tell me what to do. It's always been you two against me. Like, and that's probably what happened. Like, in real life, like the twins, picking on the little baby brother. Like, oh, so he's like, nah, I'm rolling with Uncle Joe.
And I'm bigger than you, and I can beat your ass now.
Isn't it, like, I'm pretty sure Roman's actually their uncle, I think.
Really?
I think he is. I think he's their uncle. I remember them saying on that video that too, like, because his dad's older than much older than
Afa and Sika. Is it? Yeah, Rikishi is Afa and Sika's kid.
So
Roman and Rishiki are brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Roman's their uncle.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's right. That's what they say. So, yeah, they say cousin, but like Roman's not their cousin. He's literally their uncle. So,
big unk.
Which they should stop saying cousins because I think Roman being their uncle would add a little extra.
Oh, it's way too fucking late now.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if that was like if Roman was their uncle, it would add just a little bit more to the story. But I guess it also takes away because they've been talking about ever since we were kids. You've been the big dog, da da da. Like Roman is like just like when we were kids, like So I guess it makes sense. Like you're taking this angle, so that's why. But in real life, like he's really just their uncle, which that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
There's people where they're older than their uncles.
Yeah, that stuff's weird how that works out. But like, how also small callback to Monday. How funny was it when Kevin Owens comes to the ring wearing a We the Ones shirt?
Yeah, I thought Kevin was hilarious.
He lost his mind on Imperium and then called them psychos.
Yeah, he's like, we didn't do anything to prompt you to come out here. We didn't call you out. We didn't say your name. You just made that.
It's an unwritten rule. You can't just do that.
Yeah, he was like, we always hear you talk. Sometimes we hear you with the ears. We hear you talk sometimes.
Baldy.
But we never hear you talk, Baldy. And I was just like, yo, they're just roasting him.
The Baldy chants were fucking awesome, by the way.
I love Kevin, and I'm actually so happy for him. Like 2 years in a row, you've main evented WrestleMania.
Yeah, man. And like
the same, Roman Reigns main evented Sunday. I main evented for 2 years straight. I main evented opposite of Roman Reigns.
Without a world championship.
Without a world championship, I was the main event.
Yeah.
I was the main event with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then I was the second tag team of all time. Only the second tag team in history to main event WrestleMania. Who was the other tag team? Hulk Hogan and Mr. T.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 1. Well, I guess you can't really count that because there was 2 other tag teams, the Usos and Roddy Piper and Bob Orton, so I guess you can't really.
Listen, it's fine, okay? Good for Kevin Owens. And he's at the point where, like, you want to talk about world titles. I don't know that
I'd like to see him get another title.
I'd say one more. I don't really see him walking around too many more times unless they get in a pinch and they need him. But he's one of those guys that you could throw into the world title picture and no one's going to be mad about it, face or heel.
And I was going to touch on what you just said there. I don't see him winning, more than one more time unless something happens and they need him.
Right.
And he's that guy where if you need him, he'll be a damn good champion.
Yes.
I think that if I had to name 2 guys right now who, if you needed them, could step in and be really good champions, it'd be Kevin Owens and AJ Styles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw that on Night of Champions. He can still throw down. Him and Seth Rollins had a great match.
Vince McMahon used to refer to him as his little pit bull. He's like, oh man, got my pit bull right here.
Although AJ still swears Vince had no idea who he was when he first came into the company because he had no plans for him after the Royal Rumble.
I think that if you hear documentation from other people, they say that. They had to fight to get him even to come in.
Yeah.
Like Road Dogg had to really it was just a podcast. So Road Dogg was like, you got to get this guy in. You got to get him in. I mean, there's a testament to that. Brock obviously didn't know who he was. Brock had to call Kurt Angle and be like, hey.
Should I work with this guy?
Should I sell for him? And Kurt was like, if you sell for him, you're gonna have the best match, one of the best matches of your life.
Yeah. Well, AJ's one of those guys that, like, I was watching something else where he's like, if I hit you hard, I want you to hit me hard back. Like, he likes to work. He's one of those guys.
Yeah. AJ, I love AJ, man.
And I think that even furthers the point that Edge being the world champion right now would be fucking horseshit. Because the worst match AJ had in the last 3 years was the match with Edge. The worst match Randy Orton has had in the last 3 years was his match with Edge. Edge is fucking done now. He had a good Hell in a Cell with Finn Balor, but let's say what it is, that was Finn Balor carrying that. I get his victories are his victories, but Edge's victories are not legitimate. Let's be honest. It's because he's Edge. We get bored of his title reign after a month, maybe 2.
I would say Edge carried Finn Balor. I mean, the man had 14 staples put into his head and tore his calf 2 weeks before WrestleMania.
And I still think Finn Balor carried the match.
I mean, Can you imagine what that match would have been like if Finn didn't tear his calf?
Dude, oh my god. Ever since I learned he tore his calf, I was like, holy shit. And he still went buck wild?
Like, I guarantee you, they would have been on top of that cell if Finn didn't tear his. Like, I'm just thinking in my head, like that ending sequence, if they were on top of the cell, would have went down in history as one of the best sequences in this, like in a WrestleMania match ever. Like, just imagine Edge concertoing Finn on top of the cell.
The sound that would have made would have been unbelievable.
And then just the ref on top of their counting the 1, 2, 3.
Epic. I just think, sadly, we're past the days of people going up there just because, like, even getting back down or up is really just not safe. But
it's dangerous. It definitely is. But I wouldn't say I would definitely pass the days of anyone falling off of it.
well, yeah.
But I think the cells. It's the safest time ever to fight up there. The cell is so safe nowadays. I mean, like the fight up there.
Well, as opposed to when it was held together with fucking zip ties.
That's what I'm saying. Like, goddamn Undertaker and McFoley's foot going through the damn cell as they're walking.
Yeah, and everybody.
Like I said, all you just have to do is have some good top of the cell fighting.
Yeah.
And people will be happy. But whatever. I think we're not. We're not gonna get another cell at WrestleMania for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we might get a cell at SummerSlam. Brock and Cody. Yeah.
No one. No one.
What do you? I think it would be.
What's Brock gonna do? I mean, Brock is this. We've seen Brock open up quite a bit. He ain't opening much more.
Listen, that's fine, but I think Cody's creative enough to make that match really entertaining. We saw what he did with Seth Rollins with a torn pec. What do you think he's going to do with Brock when he's healthy?
He had Seth Rollins. And then Seth Rollins, he wasn't in there with Brock. Well, let me tell you something. If he tore his pec in his matches against Brock in the Hell in a Cell, that match would have got canceled.
Would have been dog shit, yeah.
They would have got canceled. They wouldn't even have had the match.
They would have been like, Brock is going to fucking kill you. We can't.
Yeah, Brock's not going to. And just be like, no thanks. Let's not do that.
That's what I'm saying. Now that he's healthy, I think they're gonna have they could have a sick. It's either that or Last Man Standing is what I've heard.
We've seen Brock in Last Man Standing.
I know. That's why I'm thinking it'll be Hell in a Cell this time, because he already put on the best Last Man Standing match of all time with Roman. Nobody's topping that.
I'd love to see a Cody and Roman in that title.
Could you imagine?
At WrestleMania, Hell in a Cell for that title. Be dethroned. There's no way they would go to the top of the cell. No way.
I just don't know. That's one of those things now that is possible because there's no Hell in a Cell event.
I think thank the Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we got to see what we're going to get here. Like, what's going on with Roman? Like, this Bloodline story is good. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy right now. Like, who would have thought? I thought, and it's funny because it dipped just the slightest bit, and I thought that we'd run our course with it and we dragged it on too long. It's funny. Like, Sammy and them are done with the Bloodline. They've moved on. They're having their own issues. The Bloodline's feuding within between itself. I mean, but realistically, how long can we drag this out? So let's say Money in the Bank. And that'd be strange too because now Roman's working a lot of events here. Roman's working Money in the Bank. He's working SummerSlam. They're not going to see him for a little bit.
Yep.
He's working those two. Then we're not going to see him for a little bit because they're in London. There's no way he's not working Money in the Bank.
He's going to work internationally. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's working Money in the Bank. Him and Solo versus the Usos. Then SummerSlam. I don't know what we do for SummerSlam. We could potentially get a Jimmy and Roman.
Yeah, well, I've seen that too.
We could get a Cody. We could get a Cody and Roman. Because Cody's wrestling Brock. So yeah, I don't know.
I've seen either another tag match or Jimmy and Roman.
Cody might actually wrestle Brock. Money in the Bank. There's no way they're going over to London. You're not bringing Brock and Cody. They put themselves in a weird pickle because you pretty much have two big pay-per-views back to back. You can't go to London, somewhere you don't go too often.
Right, and not have your big
When
guys.
I for some reason am feeling something. I'll tell you what.
Well, what if they do
If
this thing where Cody's arm's broken and they force him to not compete until SummerSlam or after
that's
Money in the
fair.
Bank?
I think if they do that, I think the big announcement is coming to London.
Like what?
Right? If they don't have Brock and Cody there, I think they're gonna have to supplement him some other way. If they announce WrestleMania 31 for London.
At the press conference, yeah. That would be something else.
I mean, they announced Philly, like when they were in Philly, they announced WrestleMania 40 at Philly. I think so. The three locations I think WrestleMania 41 we're getting either Minneapolis, Las Vegas, or London, or the three locations that um, are up for grabs for WrestleMania 41.
Yeah. That would be listen, that'd be awesome. There's so much going on, and like I think for the first time in a while, this is the most unpredictable things have been. Say what you want, but like Triple H is now at a point where his booking is so new, nobody really sees any patterns yet. He's keeping things
No,
pretty fresh.
for God's sakes, Mustafa Ali and Baron Corbin show up on NXT, and then they're in the Money in the Bank qualifying matches.
Like I mean whatever, but I mean it's interesting. I think it's a good time to be a wrestling fan. I think this Money in the Bank pay-per-view, like you said, because it's an international show, is going to be sneaky awesome.
Yeah, I can't. Can you imagine how loud that crowd is going to be?
Dude,
It might be.
UK
I think
fans
it'll
are
rival
nuts.
Backlash. So let's talk about it. The crowds of excluding Jeddah, I think Jeddah was loud, but like they're never really that loud.
They're
They're
never.
loud, but they're never. Yeah, they're okay. But WrestleMania 39, like I was like, I might need to go get my ears checked. Like I literally was like, oh, it's too loud. Like my ears legit were hurting both nights. That's the
Jesus.
crowd was so loud. Like my ears were literally in pain. Um, Backlash, that crowd was absolutely wild. Like rival WrestleMania, if not beat it.
I
If not beat it.
it's argued. I think the size of the arena helped made it sound louder than it was too. But
It was also that it was they're inside too, so
right,
that makes a difference. Where there's a roof over the Puerto Rico one, where there's room for
sound to get
the
out.
sound to escape. Yeah,
I mean, there's a roof on SoFi, but there's like space
yeah,
between.
it's definitely it's a damn that arena is so cool. But there's definitely room for it to escape. So, but
Yeah. Yes.
it's so yeah, and then like London is always known for
Dude,
being a very very loud crowd.
that crowd at Cardiff for Clash at the Castle was insane. And that was Clash
Yeah,
at the
so
Castle. Not for nothing. That's not a massive pay per view. Money at the Bank is arguably becoming one of the big four.
I mean, you can swap it out with Survivor Series unless Survivor Series becomes a war game pay per view
If
now.
you start doing war games every year, it'll reestablish Survivor Series because I think the classic Survivor Series match does not work in the modern era. It's not the same.
Not when you do joint pay per views. Like it was for
Right.
the big four. There's really no even a big deal about the big four other than WrestleMania now because the big four pay per views were big because it was the only time of the year where SmackDown and Raw were on the same show. So it was a supercar.
I get what you mean. I
Now,
think it's still big. I just don't think it's as big as it
Royal
was.
Rumble, to me, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. After that, SummerSlam is like I've never really thought I haven't like SummerSlam cards really just haven't blown me out of the way. They're just like they're good, but like the
I
biggest part
think
of
they're
the summer, like
SummerSlam. I feel like is just supposed to be fun. It's the biggest party of the summer, is what they call it. It's just supposed to be a fun show. I always have fun at every SummerSlam I watch.
honestly, I just don't. I've never been that excited about it. I think sorry, and like like SummerSlam was actually like least favorite out of them. Because I love Survivor Series. Because when I first started watching that, when I first started watching it was that year where SmackDown versus Raw was like arguably the best time there was. And so I was like, I love Survivor Series. But since then, it's just like, hey, it's here.
Yeah.
It's here.
Last year was the first time I cared about Survivor Series in a long time.
Yeah, but I think you're missing that. You take away from the big four aspect. I get what you're saying, the big four aspect. You take away from the big four aspect when every pay per view has matches from both cards.
I think we've talked about it before that they need to go back to the intermediates between the big four being brand specific.
I do. I agree. I agree. It would. I think it would benefit them, and and this is the best time to do it. But despite what we're saying about like Seth not having eligible challengers right now, it's still the best time to do it. I mean, the only reason he really doesn't have eligible challengers is because two of them are caught up in a big feud. And also, you have some really big heavy hitters. You need to two of them are caught up in a big feud. One's off the show. One's not on the show right now. Gunther is your IC title champion, who's really big right now, and then you also have Kevin Owens, who's wrapped up with in the tag team titles.
Yeah.
So your heavy hitters are just busy right now. That's why he doesn't have like credible challengers really. Your big heavy hitters.
There's another reason. There's another layer to that too that I just thought of. Because there was no brand split before. For 3 years, Roman dominated almost both shows almost every single week. So it was hard to establish anybody else.
Exactly. So now it's like everybody's like feels like mid carders. So we have to do a job to rebuild them up, and that's why we really should go back to brand specific pay-per-views too, and really give people a chance to shine.
Because if it weren't for brand specific pay-per-views, would Jeff Hardy have gotten as big as he was? I don't think so.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it was
Rey Mysterio is another great example of that. He established himself in those brand specific pay-per-views with Eddie Guerrero.
Ray, there's a lot of
and
people.
Batista. Not establishing himself in that way. I'm just saying Ray helped himself by that feud with Batista. Batista would have been fine either way.
Well, not only that, like here's in my opinion. So people will say like I hear people compare like the first John Cena Batista's first title reign, and like a lot of people say Batista's first title reign was better than John Cena's title reign, and here's why I believe it was.
His challengers were better.
For the first part it was, but then after that it wasn't. But Batista wasn't defending his title as much, where John was defending it and beating people. I mean, and also he was wrapped up in the biggest stories in the company, where John was wrestling like Kurt, which is a big story, but it wasn't as big as the brand split at that time.
Right.
The brand rivalry, and then it rolled right into like New Year's Revolution. It was still brand split, whereas Batista and Rey Mysterio versus Big Show and Kane. That we got Batista and Rey Mysterio being tag champions because of a brand split thing, and we just like wow, we developed it. People loved that tag team, and so like we got like stuff like that. Like I said, it built Ray, it built Batista, it built like Eddie Guerrero, it built some really strong people, and and even like people like Eminem who were we're never gonna lose sleep. You can easily forget about them, but they played a pivotal role in putting over Batista, Rey Mysterio, Batista, and Eddie Guerrero.
A lot of teams,
and then
well, didn't they kick off that run for Paul London and Brian Kendrick? Aren't they who they beat?
They might, they might have been. And then they beat the Legion of Doom. Those two beat the Legion of Doom. So like those brand specific.
No, well, that was high. That was a different Legion of Doom.
Yeah, sorry, but yeah, still, they were tag champions.
No, yeah,
when they beat them.
Yeah.
I think these brands did a lot for them, and like it also. It also did something for people like John Cena, Kurt Angle. Like it helped them out too. Like
Shawn Michaels.
Kurt was a big star. He would have been a big star no matter what. Carlito. Did you say Carlito?
I said Shawn Michaels, but Carlito's a great example.
Shawn Michaels, Chris Masters, like
Shelton freaking Benjamin.
Yeah, Shelton Benjamin, exactly. These brand splits did a lot for these guys. And John, so like when Batista was feuding with Triple H, John came over to Raw and got to wrestle Chris Jericho and Christian in a triple threat match. Then he was feuding with Kurt Angle. Well,
then he had a triple threat with Kurt and Shawn.
Yes, and so that too. So look at that right there.
That finish was crazy. I just watched that.
So when Batista's feuding with half the company and like that big SmackDown Raw. He's in that big title scene.
Yeah.
We still, because of the brand split, we were able to build up other people. We still have a Kurt Angle that feud with John Cena. While Batista's feuding with Triple H, then goes to feuding with Eddie Guerrero and feuding with the girl, and then feuding with Raw. Just Raw. And
The whole goddamn roster.
goddamn roster, yeah. So it's like, people grow up and like, people say like, yeah, I was watching wrestling for Batista or John Cena. It was
Yeah.
like, you know, which I want to ask you a question, and like I got into a debate, and like I understand either way, and like to me, I made this argument. I said I think Randy is a more popular superstar than Batista overall, but I don't think Randy's ever reached the height of popularity that Batista reached. And so
You think?
my friend,
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
that's what I think. And then my friend at work disagreed, and he said, "Well, you know, Randy was a household name, and like, you know, people are saying RKO out of nowhere." And I was like, "That was more of a Jim Ross thing, and then just the move." And I was like, and then so like I was like, "All right." So then I started asking people, I was like, "Did you ever watch wrestling?" Yeah. You know who Batista is? Yeah. And like some people were like, Batista, like he wrestled like in the '90s with like Mankind, and Randy was like, no. And I was like, no, Randy was, yeah, I know Randy Orton. So like then I came to the conclusion, I was like, well, maybe he is. Maybe, but it didn't like. But then, like, I was like, wait, but that just proves my point. Like, Randy overall was a more popular wrestler because, like, Randy's been there for 20 plus years. Batista was there for eight,
Yeah.
8 years.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said about guys like that get that hot that quick. How long was Stone Cold in the WWE? 7 years. He started in 90. He won King of the Ring in 96, 97. That was what established Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then he only wrestled to 2002, 2003 because of his neck.
Yeah, but he still kept popping around.
Well, yeah, but
you know, you have a solid point there. But there was something to be said with that.
The Rock wasn't around that long.
No, and well, that's why I made my argument. I was like, quite naturally, someone's gonna know that Randy Orton and John Cena have been around for 20 plus years consistently.
Yeah.
No matter, even if you don't watch wrestling, they're gonna become household names because all kids watch wrestling.
Stereo is in that same
exactly. I said Batista was here for a blink of an eye. A blink of an eye, like it made it feel like he was there forever. But he was only there for 8 years.
I think that's a fair point, and I think like real wrestling fans are the ones that acknowledge Batista for his greatness. But most people now, if you ask Batista, everyone's going to be saying, "Oh, that actor, he was Drax in that."
Well, that's
Disney
what my
movie.
friend was saying. He was like, outside, he was like, I think he's just more popular, like a household name. And
As a person, I think in general he's more popular as far as like general population because he does the movies. Outside of wrestling, they know the RKO thing, but could they put a face to the name of Randy Orton? Probably not.
Well, no, but he was saying that Randy Orton was a more popular outside of wrestling, like as a whole general.
I don't think that's true at all.
And then he was like, "Oh, look at it, dude, Randy," which amazing. Randy got like 6 million followers on Instagram, and I was like, "Well, Randy was everybody. He was the American sweetheart. Everybody loved to look at Randy Orton." And I was like, you know, I am biased, but I'm easily like, if you make your point, I'll say it. Like, okay, that's fair. And so that's why I said like, maybe Randy was more popular, you know, overall because he was there for so long. And I said, but to me, it was like, I don't think he ever reached that level of popularity that Dave did.
I don't think his ceiling is as high as Batista's was. Because until later on, after Batista was kind of done doing his thing, or when was the first time Randy was really over as world champion? Because right after Evolution, he wasn't really over. People weren't really ready for that. Maybe 2009 when he started going with Cena, because 2008 to 2009, Randy Orton might have been the most hated man in the company.
Yeah.
He punted John Cena's dad's head in.
Punted everybody.
He punted Mae fucking Young. She's a badass, by the way, dude. She got Dudley bombed through a table. She got punted by Randy Orton.
She's a bad dude. She's a bad girl.
Love Mae. Rest in peace. Anyway, what were you saying?
I think Randy became popular because he's been around so long.
Yeah.
And he's just so good. And like, but I just like, there's different levels of popularity, like we're saying here. Like
I think what happened to Randy a while ago is what is happening to the Miz now. People are starting to appreciate his work he did in the past because enough time has come off what he did in the past where you don't hate him for it anymore. And now you just sit there and we're older, obviously. We're like, well, hey, he was really good. He made me hate him as a kid. I
yeah,
respect that he made me feel something. And now that's where I'm at with The Miz. I'm looking back at everything. I'm like, wow, this guy really did do it all. I couldn't stand him the entire time, but that was his job. He beat John Cena at WrestleMania, for God's sakes. How many people can say that? Austin Theory, but like, not many people can say they beat John Cena at WrestleMania.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, the business, and he's starting to pick up his work rate again. He's starting to work
We
hard.
blew past this, but I texted you about it. Miz and Ricochet put on a banger for that Money in the Bank qualifier for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to my
Miz put
buddy.
on a banger with Seth Rollins like what 2 weeks prior to
Yeah.
that.
At a
Miz has been
White
having
Plains, New York, there was a live event. Seth Rollins versus The Miz in the main event. Apparently, it was a banger. Everybody loved it.
I think Miz is getting ready to hang up his curtain, and he wants to be like he
I
doesn't want to be known as just a guy who was great talker, great. He wants to be known like, yo, I could work. You guys keep saying I can't work. I can work.
I think.
I want to talk on that more,
Yep.
but I do want to just end on. I'm going to end that conversation with Batista and Randy Orton, just stating like I don't know where I don't know. I guess it depends because I hear a lot of people who have to say like, oh yeah, I want to see like if I comment anything on Batista, they'll be like, oh well, Randy, and I hear there seems to be those four guys, Brock, John, Randy, Batista, like their popularities are all around the same level. So like, and they all have their areas of where they were high, where they were low, and it's just people. And I guess the best way to say it is that no matter which name you bring up, people will be passionate. And if there's one person saying they love this guy, there's going to be a horde of other people saying they love that guy.
And there's also going to be a horde of people saying they hate that guy.
Exactly. Like I've noticed with all of them, there's like, you put him who's the favorite out of the OV4. I've seen polls like that, and it's like you'll see the polls and it'll be like John's winning or Brock's winning or whatever, and then people are like Batista was my guy, da da da, like Batista, and then it's like hordes of them, or then it's like, and then everybody see, and it's really be like this, no lie, it'll be like Brock and John leading the polls, and then in the comments, nothing but Randy Batista, Randy Batista. Everybody's just mentioning Randy and Batista. So it's like it's weird. Like all four of those guys are really popular. And like what I would just say for Batista is like, remember, this guy's popularity was so high, and it was he wrestled only 8 years, and in between that, he was plagued with injury. Like I hear most people be like, a lot of people go, Big Dave doesn't get the respect he deserves, but like what he was able to do, and like if you gotta take, he probably only wrestled for 6 years if you count all the injuries he had.
Well, that's the thing is I think that hurts Batista is the longevity and that he was never able to really put it together for a long period of time because of injury. And
Yeah,
that's like what they always say, right? The best ability is availability.
yeah, no, and I'll agree to that. Like, but for a guy, I always
I agree. I think
see
he's one of
that
those
like
guys that when he was around, he lit it up and not many people could come close to him.
yeah. Well, not only that, dude was older than Triple H. How many? Like,
Yeah.
dude was older than Triple H and still reached the heights he did. But we'll move on from that.
Kind of try to
Yeah,
wrap up the
Miz.
show here. Last
Yeah,
thoughts.
actually, yeah, you're right. Last thought. World heavyweight title over the new because I've been seeing that pulled. I vote heavyweight title looks better than the new WWE title.
Yep.
Fred, my partner Fred thinks that the WWE title looks better than the world heavyweight title,
Bad take,
but
Fred.
but I vote for the world heavyweight title. And hey, Miz, keep showing us that you can wrestle.
Yeah.
I think it's up to you. Like, keep showing us that you can wrestle because I was one of those people who thought he's not a worker, but from what I'm seeing, you can work. You just never had to. So let's see it.
Yeah. Listen, and to wrap up, I gotta say, Money in the Bank is gonna be awesome. The journey there is gonna be fun, and to watch this thing continue with the bloodline and this story, and now, you know, what I really hope happens at Money in the Bank is that Gunther absolutely just beats the living piss out of Riddle. Riddle's gonna get a good run because he's really over and people love him, but ultimately we know what's gonna happen. Gunther's gonna end up flattening him. That'll be a
I
really
like it.
entertaining back and forth between them, and I think that's something we can talk about next week because I think Monday we're gonna start seeing more between Gunther and Riddle.
they've had a good run in the Indies.
Oh, so they've worked together before.
They've worked together in the Indies and they had a good run, I think. So this should be fun.
Just the personalities alone scream comedy.
Yeah. Oh, last comment. Jay Uso roasted uh, um, Solo and Riddle. He was like, "We keep trying to get Solo to put some shoes on. You want to be out here looking like that? Riddle is busted up."
Yeah. It's not. We've talked about Riddle's attire and how we think it needs to clean up. But someone else mentioned, maybe it was Teddy Long, that like say what you want about Riddle's appearance, but when he's out there, ladies and anybody who's into that are staring at him and they cannot take their eyes off him. So it's working for some people.
He's worse than Titus O'Neil. I used to say, "Oh God, Titus O'Neil needs to put some knee pads on her and elbow pads. It looks like someone's dad on there." Riddle went a step further and took the shoes off.
Yeah, Riddle's an interesting guy, and I think it also plays more into his character. But yeah, I think that's a nice place to wrap it up and tell you guys, we love you. We appreciate the support. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.